I got 3 different photos in one location, all lit with Magmod. Let's get into it. What's up, photography world? Josh Grasso here from theshutterschool.com. And today I got a behind the scenes quick how I shot it video for these 3 photos, all shot in basically the same location, just from different angles by moving the subject in a different spot, changing the lighting. I got 3 totally different looks, totally different photos in one shot, which is actually a very important skill to learn, especially when you're shooting on a wedding day where you have limited time. We're in a church where there's not a lot of exploring that we could do, and they got to get in and out. It's good to be able to make a lot of different things in one spot. So we're going to get into how I set up each one, a couple little hacks along the way, and then I even got a bonus photo at the end. All right. So for the first photo we're going to get into is this one. Just to show you the scene, here's the view of the altar. All wedding ceremonies are going to start at an altar. The portrait session could theoretically start at the altar with the family photos and things like that. But as you notice, the altar is always a little bit busy. We got this ugly red carpet. You got this green tablecloth. This background here is kind of cool, but it is a little busy. But if you turn around from the altar, notice the view, much different, a lot more symmetry, structure, art, light. It's all much better. So just as a little background of the setup. So basically this view, this angle, is what we're going to use for the 3 different photos. And we're just going to vary how we light it and where we put the couple and where I stand. And you get 3 totally different shots. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, the backdrop at the altar is too busy, too ugly with the different colors and whatnot. This is how I start the couple's portraits. At the altar is where we do all the family formals. I got 2 lights set up, just lighting up the whole group of the family. And then I always do one just basic traditional grandma shot here at the altar with that lighting setup. So then all I had to do is flip them around and have those highlights now using as a rim light. So let me actually show you the setup here. So I flip them around. They're at the altar, so we don't even need to travel. I've got the one light that was set up from the family formals, and then there's another light normally over here, but I moved it around so we can light them from the front. So this is actually one of my favorite lighting setups to use on a portrait shoot. Is a 2 light setup and as a cross light setup where one is coming in from behind as a rim light, which is super important, and I'll show you why in a second. And then we have this front light to light up their faces. Okay, I know it gets very popular to use one light as a backlight and try to do this cool rim light thing, or do silhouettes and stuff, but you really need a good light on the couple so that they pop as well. All right, and then where my position is, you can see kind of a little bit of my bald head right here, down low. And it's important to get down low because otherwise this is the background. Okay. So the bottom half of the church scenery, we got the pews and the doors, which is wide open, some clutter over here. Not as good. If you get low, now I can show off the artwork in the ceiling, and all these arches are used as leading lines leading up to them. But anyway, so here's a wide shot of this setup. Now you can see the rim light shot behind them. Now why this rim light is so important is notice it's lighting up their hair. The background, while pretty and works in the scene because it's leading lines leading into them and whatnot, there's a lot going on. So you need that couple to pop. So you really have to have a rim light in a busy scene like this. By having their hair glow, they separate. Okay. Also, I'm going to have to show you some composition tricks. So with this wide shot here, it's pretty cool showing off the scenery of the church. It's including the rim light shot, or the rim light stand and everything else. Now, normally, if you have a light stand and shooting them, and let's say I had a light stand right here facing them, and that was in the shot, it's easy to Photoshop that out for the most part. But when your backlight is in the scene, it gets much harder because notice how you have all this flare and glare. So it's actually going to be tricky to Photoshop this out. So I actually going to change the composition here. Now, technically, if I wanted to Photoshop this out, because this is symmetrical, I could probably just copy this side of the scene, flip it, paste it, blend it, and it might actually look pretty good. If I want a wide shot, I might try that. But I did one quick compositional hack is I'm using like this diagonal angle. So it's still showing the same scene, same leading lines, but being off to the side, I had that light. Okay. So that kind of makes a cool scenic shot. For the symmetrical shot, all I'm doing is zooming in a little bit to hide that light. Okay. So here's the unedited version. As you can see, they're bright, got the rim light, and a couple tips on the lighting here. So first, notice that their skin is pretty bright and the background is bright but darker than their skin. Okay. So what I like to do to blend a scene, you want it to look natural. You want to blend the ambient with the flash. So what that means is you want the levels of both to be roughly the same, but I like the background to be a little bit darker so that they stand out. So what you would do is set your exposure in such a way that you think the background looks good, and then the lighting in such a way that the couple is maybe one step brighter than the background. So rough ballpark settings here. I always set my aperture in shutter speed first based on what I need. So it's 2 people in the shot. F2.8 is a good idea just to make sure they're both in focus. And then shutter speed somewhere between 150, 200 on a wide lens like this to make sure everything's sharp. Good starting point. You don't really need to change that too much. But then it gets really easy. You take your ISO, bump it up and down to change the ambient background exposure. So if I lower the ISO, the background's going to get darker. Raise the ISO, background's going to get brighter. Super easy. Then when you flash the couple, you can make sure their brightness matches the background. If they're way too bright, darken the lights. If they're way too dark, brighten the lights. Very simple. So that's kind of the approach. Shutter speed and aperture set first. Use ISO to get the background where you want, and then adjust the flash power to get the couple where you want. And I always want the couple one step brighter than the background if I want it to look natural and blended, because if they're the same level, they don't pop as much. So having the background a little bit darker helps them pop, but by not having it way darker, it looks more natural. So anyway, this is the unedited shot. And then when I edit it, I'm really boosting the contrast and the color. I'm taking what I like about the scene, which is all this warmth. I'm boosting the warmth. I'm boosting the contrast. And I'm actually darkening it a little bit more so they really pop. Okay. And see how important that rim light is in this dark shot. It says you got these organs and these lights all behind them. To really make them separate, you need that rim light. Now, one thing I did wrong, you could say, I do on purpose, but one way to make it more sophisticated is having this front light here, having a gel on it of matching the ambient light. So to really look 100% authentic, if I was a filmmaker, I would definitely do this. They're like super strict about it. Is whatever it looks like this couple is being lit by these lights here. Notice these lights are a little bit warm, a little bit yellow, a little bit like kind of almost like a straw color. So having a CTO or straw gel would make this backlight match the light behind them. So it would look like they're being lit by this light. Okay. Because it looks like they're being lit by this light, but if you match the color, it's even more authentic. Okay. All right, cool. Next shot, shot number 2. Now I move the couple close to the stained glass. So the stained glass as the background is now the main background instead of the whole church. Here's the behind the scenes shots. As you can see, the flash is overhead. Now the flash is overhead because I'm trying to get it in both of their faces. We're at the tip of a balcony here, so my assistant is holding up a light stand to get it up high. I should have it even more centered, but there wasn't really room for them with the balcony. That would make it a little bit better because you see how his forehead and his eyes are still a little bit dark. If this light came over this way, more light would get into his eyes and his forehead. It would look a lot better. So ideally, when you do this top-down shot and they're looking at each other, you really want the light to be more centered. But anyway, so the next thing to point out is notice the stained glass. Beautiful colors, lots of texture here, but the color is kind of bland and washed out, right? And the reason is because it's too bright. So if you have a colorful stained glass or really cool lights that have some cool texture or color to the lights, you need to expose for those lights and make the scene dark so that the color becomes more saturated. So as I lower the exposure, you can see, notice how much richer the colors get. Looks much better. Then you put the light on the couple until it's bright enough that they look good. So here's the final shots. A couple other tricks I used, 2 more hacks here, is I used my cell phone to make this reflection. So I thought this color was cool. I thought the shape was cool. I wanted it to be even more of the shot, so I wanted it to wrap around the couple. So I used a cell phone turned off so that it was just black screen. Makes a nice little reflective mirror, and I put that under my lens to add that color back up into the shot. So it reflected this light up here and moved it to the bottom to make a cool wraparound effect. The second hack was there was these cool highlights on the organs, and I just wanted the colors to fit better. So I took a brush in Lightroom, put it on a blue-white balance, tungsten white balance, and then brushed it in so we got this cool effect. All right, so that's shot number 2. Shot number 3 is a silhouette. So we got some hacks for you on silhouettes here. A couple tips that you need to know to make a silhouette work, especially in a busy scene like this. So here, notice, stained glass, very busy. So when you do a silhouette, fundamentally what a silhouette is, bright background, subject much darker, they're black, background's bright, you see their shape, right? Pretty simple, pretty obvious. But the reasons why silhouettes don't always work is when a couple gets lost in that silhouette, there's not enough separation. So if the silhouette isn't bright enough to make enough contrast, they can get blend in to that background, especially with something like stained glass, where the stained glass is brighter, but it's so busy that the couple gets lost. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. So notice the couple, you could barely see them. If I were to just do the shot like this, hoping that the silhouette itself, the natural light silhouette, would pull me through, it's not going to work. So if you really want your silhouettes to pop, you need to put a backlight. So what I do is I have my assistant crouched down, hiding behind the couple, trying to shine that light between them. Now you want to get the light low enough where their bodies will hide it, or off to the side enough where maybe the groom will hide it with his shoulders, and you can get enough of that light in their heads and their faces. You really want their faces lit up with the rim light so you can see the outline. Okay. So if you have this, you definitely got to watch out for this because this ruins the shot. This is obviously not the shot I want. It's just showing where the light is. You can either have your subject move a little, have the light move a little, or real easy is I move over a little until that light gets blocked. So here's the actual shot. I moved enough where they're hiding or I had them even moving closer together. They're hiding that light. Notice what I'm talking about with the rim light. Her veil is blowing up. Brightness. His hair is, you've got this white, it's almost like you're painting in a white outline to show where the couple is. Now, because the background's so busy, I put this flash on half power, right? I wanted it to be super bright. Normally I want my flash to be subtle, but to really make that rim light, the brighter it is, the more rim you're going to get, the more of an outline you're going to get. I knew they needed a lot of help standing out with the busy background. So silhouettes, bright rim light, big important thing. Okay. So that's my 3 shots. I got one quick bonus one. I used all these same techniques. All I did was take this couple, notice these archers off to the side, and this is technically a different background now. So the first 3 shots were all one location, one background, which is a very important skill to get variety with one background. But by turning them to the side, now I got a new background, same location. Use the cell phone hack again, use the high top-down light, got another light, got another shot. So anyway, 3+1 here, photos for you, how I shot it, one location. When you're on a shoot, try to get 3 totally different looks with one spot, mix up the light, mix up the placement of you and the couple, and you got 3 different shots. Anyway, you want to see more of my work, check me out on Instagram, Joshua Grasso. You want to see more videos, subscribe to Shutter School here on YouTube. Appreciate you taking the time here. Throw a comment below on what else you'd like to see. Like, subscribe, do all that jazz to help me grow, and I'll make more videos for you. Keep shooting. See you in the next video.